everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
I understand to your point here that you don't want to broadcast everything for our adversaries to hear, but the American people also want to know what they're sending their men and women to war for. Is there a concern of this spiraling into a longer war? And then one for the chairman when you're done.
Did you not hear my remarks? To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president.
The left is screaming endless wars. Man, everybody do everyday people, man. It's your boy PJ. Today we back with a new political. All right, so here you see Pete Hegseth saying there's no endless wars. No one is listening. But that's the least of our problems. If y'all don't know, we are at war with Iran. So let's get into more of what's going on with this.
Let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely...
You know, I just got to say something about this. He keeps saying Barack Hussein Obama. Y'all know what he's doing, right? He's basically calling President Barack Obama a Middle Eastern. He's calling him a Muslim. He's saying that he's low-key saying he's from a different country. And Obama, he's been the president twice. I mean, Donald Trump has been the president twice. Matter of fact, Obama was president between 2008 and 2016. That was 10 years ago. Sir, what are you doing? What have you done? Okay? Stop talking about Barack. You still on, you just got to bring up Barack and everything. This don't make no sense. It don't make no sense at all to just continue to talk about Barack like that. And then you're supposed to be ending wars. Where's the end to the war?
He shattered violently. It was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out, and they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now. I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks.
I guess we can confirm that the president, he is not bored at this moment. Not bored.
Weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
He said they're standing in harm's way, but they're right here. The only harm is you, because if they coming after anybody, they coming after you, Mr. President. Because you've been going after everybody's leader. He's snatching up leaders like Epstein kids, okay? It's funny, though, because a lot of people are saying, even the Jews, even the Jews are saying, hey, what about the Epstein files? Like, it's when you get the Jews after the Epstein files, then yeah, we might see something. But he said he can't. I was watching a Jew, and he said you can't take these people down. There's no way they're that powerful. You won't take them down. Operation Distract from the Epstein files. That's what this war is. The Epstein files was gaining too much heat. It was big news last week. How can you stop the Epstein files? Start a war. That is how you get the media off the Epstein files. Start a war, because they have to focus on that, and they're going to shift their focus from the Epstein files. Remember, Pam Bondi sat and testified about the Epstein files. She said, why are we talking about the Epstein files when the Dow Jones just hit 50,000 points? that was not big enough to overshadow the Epstein file. So what did he do? Start a war.
I just got off the phone with President Trump. It was a roughly 9-minute phone interview talking about the war in Iran. Just want to give you the quotes. He said, quote, "We're knocking the crap out of them. I think it's going very well. It's very powerful. We've got the greatest military in the world, and we're using it." I asked the president how long he thought this war might last. He said, "I don't want to see it go on too long. I always thought it would be 4 weeks, and we're a little ahead of schedule." I asked him if the U.S. was doing more to help the Iranian people reclaim their country than the military strikes, if there was other stuff going on. He said, "Yes, we are indeed, but right now we want everyone staying inside. It's not safe out there." He also suggested it was about to get even less safe. "We haven't even started hitting them hard. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon." I asked the president about the fact that Iran attacked Arab countries in the region, Bahrain, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. He said that that was the biggest surprise so far for him and his team. Quote, "We were surprised. We told them," meaning the Arab countries, "we've got this." And now they want to fight, and they're aggressively fighting. They were going to be very little involved, and now they insist on being involved. He said of the Arab leaders of those countries, "I know these people, they're tough and smart." The Iranians, he said, quote, "shot into a hotel. They shot into an apartment house. It just made them," meaning the Arab leaders, "angry. They love us, but they were watching. There was no reason for them to be involved." That was probably the biggest surprise. You have to understand they were living under that dark cloud for years, meaning the Iranian nuclear threat. That's why you could never have peace. I asked, okay, well, who's going to lead Iran now? The president said, "We don't know who the leadership is. We don't know who they'll pick. Maybe they'll get lucky and get someone who knows what they're doing." The Iranians, he said, lost a lot in terms of leadership because in the initial strikes, not only was Ayatollah Khamenei killed, but also 49 other Iranian leaders, he said. It was an amazing strike. They got a little bit arrogant by meeting all in one place. They thought they were undetectable. They weren't undetectable. We were shocked by it. They don't even know who's leading them now. We went down 49, he said, meaning 49 leaders on the leadership chart there. We don't know who's leading the country now. They don't know who's leading. It's a little like the unemployment line. The president said that they tried to make a deal with the Iranians, but we couldn't make a deal with these people. He said every offer was met with a walk back of a previous offer. They had all that enriched stuff, he said, referring to uranium. They looked at redoing it there. This is after the strikes last June. But it was in such bad shape, the mountain had basically collapsed. The president said, "This is the way to deal with Iran. We don't have to worry about agreements." He talked about all of the years, decades of killing and IEDs and all the destruction that Iran has wreaked on the United States and other countries. He said people in the military walking around with no legs, walking around with no arms, their faces shattered. He said that today's military operation was of a piece, part of a larger campaign. We took out Soleimani last time. That's referring to the Iranian general Qasem Soleimani. He was an unbelievably violent, vicious general. Hitting him, he said, was a big move. If that didn't happen, then you might not have Israel today. Israel might not exist. Then he referred to Midnight Hammer, the strike against the Iranian nuclear facilities last June. They were a month away from having a nuclear weapon. He criticized Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. He said it gave all the power to Iran. They would have had a nuclear weapon 3 or 4 years ago. They would have used it against Israel. They maybe would have used it against us. In the latest talks, he said the Iranians, quote, weren't willing to give us what we asked for. They should have done it. So it's going good, the president said before getting off the phone.
So there was a nuclear deal from President Barack Obama. There was no new nuclear deal done by President Donald Trump. So how are things going good? The only thing that's going good is the war, if that's good at all. I haven't heard very many casualties. I see stuff on the news, but I don't know which is which. But I think some 3 Army officers were killed in Kuwait. So that may be something down the line. But the fact of the matter is, the president says everything is going well, but they're not coming to the table with a deal. Barack Obama got them to the table with a deal, whether he liked it or not. He might not see it satisfied, but where's the deal? So if they don't want to sign your deal, let's just go to war with them. That's the solution. Let's fight it out. Okay. Sounds childish.
First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations. So let me talk about the preparation and the planning. On February 28th, the full strength of America's armed forces came together in a unified purpose against a capable and determined adversary. The United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and our reserve components integrated across our combatant commands and began coordinated operations with the Israeli armed forces of an unprecedented scale. As the Secretary laid out, our military objectives are clear. Our mission is to protect and defend ourselves and, together with our regional partners, prevent Iran from the ability to project power outside of its borders and be ready for follow-on actions as appropriate. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. First,
Well, if we expect to take additional losses, I mean, this is what we're looking at. It's a war for people. It's just the information. I'm just sharing it with you.
Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
How is this different? How is this not starting a war? The president claimed to end so many wars. 8 wars, was it? He's even ended wars before they began. Yet he's kidnapped the Venezuelan president, and now he's murdered, or, he didn't murder him himself, but basically he sent to war our country, our countrymen, to take out leaders in Iran, starting a war. Pete Hegseth, he can tell you this is not a war. This is not starting a war. That's a lie. We're watching this. We're watching this on TV, guy. I don't know if you know this, but we see what's going on. We see what's happening.
We are not joining the US and Israeli offensive strikes. The basis for our decision is the collective self-defense of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives. It is in accordance with international law, and we've produced a summary of our legal advice, which clearly sets this out. We will keep the decision under review. Mr. Speaker, we are not joining the strikes, but we will continue our defensive actions in the region. We all remember the mistakes of Iraq, and we have learned those lessons. Any UK actions must always have a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan.
Britain just said that they not rocking with us, dog. Listen, they want to stay out of it because when they got into it with Iraq, based on George W. Bush saying they have weapons of mass destruction. We go in the country, found what? No weapons of mass destruction. That was a hoax. That was a lie. We were caught red-handed. We took out Saddam Hussein. That's crazy. I remember like watching them pull him out of that hole, and he had millions upon millions of US dollars all over the place. So the thing is, you know, he pretty much was at his lowest peak at that point. And you know, they're really calling this war baseless. They're saying it's baseless. There may be Iran just might be building weapons of mass destruction. But Britain doesn't want to fall for that again. They don't want to they don't want to have the wool pulled over their eyes again. Rightfully so. Look, they don't want to get involved in US mess. I see a lot of the world, like Spain. There is a plane called the KC-135 which is funny to say that those planes are refurbished and repurposed here in Oklahoma at the Air Force Base. Those planes had to be moved off of Spain's military installations. They cannot fly those planes from that military installation. So they have to find a different ally to fly from, because Spain does not want part of this war. Everyday people, let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section. Leave your comments below, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to holler at you later. Peace.
Everyday people.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.